And dear students of 11th class, today in your botany we are going to take up how do the plants absorb water. And you must be knowing that the water absorption in case of the plants takes place through roots in the terrestrial plants, whereas the plants which are aquatic does not mainly require, as you must be knowing, that the unicellular algae etc. and they are rootless and they do not require the root system for the absorption of water. And here in case of the terrestrial plants and the large algae which are having a root system, they absorb the water through their root system. And today we are going to take up how do plants absorb water. And you know that the roots absorb water most of the water goes into the plants. Obviously that is why we apply water to the soil and not on the leaves. When we irrigate our fields, we apply water to the water gets absorbed into the soil, obviously, and subsequently it is then absorbed through the roots and utilized by the plant. And the responsibility of the absorption of the water and the minerals is more specifically the function of the root hairs that are present in millions at the tips of the roots. Root hairs are unicellular and with delicate membranes they are easily capable of absorbing the water from the soil. Root hairs are thin-walled cylinder extensions of the root epidermal cells that greatly increase the surface area for absorption, and water is absorbed along with the mineral solutes by the root hairs purely by the process of diffusion. Once water is absorbed by the root hairs, it can move deeper into root layers by two distinct pathways. Now, one is the apoplastic pathway and the second is the symplastic pathway. The apoplastic is the system of adjacent cell walls that is continuous throughout the plant. As the cells lie adjacent to each other, their cell walls are common and the water is absorbed through cell walls from cell to cell, except at the Casparian strips of the endodermis in the roots. The apoplastic movement of the water occurs exclusively through the intercellular spaces and the walls of the cells. Movement through the apoplast does not involve crossing the cell membrane. Here is the view of the cells which are adjacent to each other, showing the apoplastic and as well as the symplastic pathways. And then the movement is dependent on the movement of water is dependent on the gradient. The apoplast does not provide any barrier to water movement, and water movement is through mass flow. As water evaporates into the intercellular spaces or the atmosphere, tension develops in the continuous. You may recall this tension as it may be also the pressure gets increased, or that in case of these at the cellular level we say the tension develop in the continuous stream of the water in the apoplast. Hence mass flow of the water occurs due to the adhesive and cohesive properties of water. And then the symplastic system is the system of interconnected protoplasts. The protoplasts of the cells are interconnected through the connections. Neighboring cells are connected through cytoplasmic strands that extend through plasmodesmata. And during symplastic movement, the water travels through the cells, their cytoplasm. Intercellular movement is through the plasmodesmata. Water has to enter the cells through the cell membrane, and the movement is relatively slower. Movement is again down a potential gradient from higher to lower potential, as it has been previously repeated time and again. And symplastic movement may be aided by the cytoplasmic streaming, and you may have observed cytoplasmic streaming in the cells of the hydrilla leaf. The movement of the chloroplast due to the streaming is easily visible. Movement of the water flow in the roots occurs via the apoplast, since the cortical cells are loosely packed and hence offer no resistance to water movement. However, the inner boundary of the cortex, the endodermis, is impervious to the water because of the band of the suberized matrix called the Gasparian strip. It is made of the material that is called the suberin, which makes it impervious. That means the water is not allowed through this barrier. Water molecules are unable to penetrate the layer, so they are directed toward regions that are not suberized into the cells proper through the membranes. The water then moves through the symplast and again crosses the membrane to reach the cells of the xylem. The movement of the water through the root layers is ultimately symplastic in the endodermis. This is the only waterway water and the other solutes can enter the vascular cylinder. Once inside the xylem, water is again free to move between cells and wall, as well as through the stem. In young roots, water enters directly into the xylem vessels or tracheids, and these are non-living conduits, and so are parts of the apoplast. The path of the water and mineral ions into the root vascular system is summarized in the figure. Here you can see the extended part on the left hand side. It is the root here that is responsible for absorbing water, and subsequently the water moves through the cells by the apoplast and reaches ultimately to the xylem. Some plants have additional structures associated with them that help in water and mineral absorption. A mycorrhiza is a symbiotic association of the fungus with the root system. The fungal filament form a network around with the young root, or they penetrate the root cells. The hyphae have a very large surface area that absorb mineral ions and water from the soil, from a much larger volume of soil that perhaps a root cannot do, thus presenting what we call as the symbiotic association. The fungus provides mineral and water to the roots. In turn, the roots provide sugars and nitrogen-containing compounds to the mycorrhiza. Some plants have an obligate association with the mycorrhiza. For example, pinus seeds cannot germinate and establish without the presence of mycorrhiza. Thanks. Have a nice day. This is easy to comprehend. Repeat it once or twice and you will easily grasp it. Thanks. Have a nice day.